Let's show you how to install the add-on from the Google Workspace Marketplace. We're going to click on install add-on for free. That's going to open the Google Workspace Marketplace. In here you can find some amazing add-ons. And let's now install Notion to Sheets. Now we need to select the account. I just have one. Next step is granting access to your Google account. So Notion to Sheets requires all these permissions in order to work. So let's now click allow. Cool, Notion to Sheets has been installed. Let's now open a Google Sheet so we can find it in the side panel. Amazing, so in the right of the window, we will see the side panel. In here you will have access to different add-ons. By default, Google comes with Calendar, Keep, and Tasks, and after that you will find the add-ons that you installed from the marketplace. In this case, we can see here the icon from Notion to Sheets. We're going to click on it. And amazing. We have the add-on installed and working. Next step is going to be to connect your Notion workspace. Let's click on Add Workspace. Now you will be able to select any of the workspaces that you have in your account. For example, in this case, I will select Leandro, that is my personal one. Then you will be able to select specific pages to give Notion to Sheets access to. In this case, I have all of them selected, but if you want, you can just select the specific ones. Something to keep in mind is that when you select a page, all child pages and databases will also be shared with integration. Let's select all. Cool, now we have the workspace connected. Now it's time to select the database that we want to sync with Google Sheets. In this case, I have just 7 databases in my workspace, but if you have many more, you can simply just search for the title. Let's try, for example, assets. You click search, and you will get the database that you are searching for as a result. Let's click on it. So as you can see in here, we see the properties that we have in the database: current price, stock, investment, and the rest. But the Start Sync button is disabled. The reason for that is that Notion to Sheets requires the database to have both created time and last edited time in the database. So let's do that now. We're gonna go to Notion. We're gonna create one created time property, and now updated. And the type is going to be last edited time. Now that we have those two properties, we can go back to Notion to Sheets, click refresh, and now the Start Sync button is going to be enabled. Let's do it. So sync is in progress now. As you can see, we have already the headers, and now we have the records. It's done. You can click refresh in here to see the latest result. Cool, it's done. We have 11 pages, nothing updated. Then every time Notion to Sheets run the updates against Notion, you will see in here how many new pages and how many pages were updated. There's only one column that is not in Notion that we have in Sheets, that is page ID. Page ID is important because it's the column that we use to know exactly where we need to update the records. And you can hide it if you want, but just don't delete it. Now we can reorder the headers. For example, let's move symbol close to title. You can select the column and just move it. You can also select, you can move, for example, percentage to investment. And if you want, you can hide columns. None of these operations are going to affect the sync process. It will still be working. And we can also maybe move, let's move name as well, close to the title. Cool, so we have title, name, symbol, the current price with the currency format, stock that is just a number, investment that is a formula, right now is empty, percentage is also empty. We're going to use that later on to demonstrate synced columns. And then we have the type that is a select property with the same colors as in Notion, and also with the same options as in Notion. There is one more step that we need to do, so the database is automatically updated every hour. Let's click on Enable Automatic Updates. we need to select the same account that we used to install Notion to Sheets. Now it's important to give Notion to Sheets access to your spreadsheets. Without this, you won't be able to get the updates every hour. And click continue. Cool, it's done. Let's click refresh to make sure everything is fine. Perfect, now our account is connected. Let's now show you how synced columns work and how we can send data from Sheets to Notion. We're gonna first do a couple of things to our sheet. We're gonna select our columns and we're gonna create a filter. This will allow us to have the same order in Sheets than in Notion. So if we check in Notion, our pages are sorted by title ascending. So we're gonna do the same in here. We're gonna sort by title ascending. Let's make sure that everything is fine. Yes, we have energy select sector and the first one in gold miners market vectors. Cool. So what are synced columns? Synced columns, as I mentioned before, allows us to make a column connected from Sheets to Notion. Something important to say is that this connection is only one way. So if you change something in Notion, that won't affect Google Sheets for that particular column. The properties that we currently support are title, rich text, number, checkboxes, URLs, emails, phone numbers, select and multi-select properties. Let's go ahead and create our first one. We're going to select our database, assets, and the first column that we will create is current price. I already have the Google Finance function, and the first parameter is the symbol, and the second parameter is what you want from finance, in this case price. We're going to select the current price. As you see in Notion right now, we have 0. Let's test the connection and see how that value gets updated. Perfect. Now we have the current price, the same as in Google Sheets, and also the investment formula that is in Notion got updated as well. Let's create a column. The data already started. As you can see the values updating, and we are done. We have the current price that lives in Sheets using the Google Finance formula, and then those values get sent to Notion every hour. 60 minutes have passed, and now we have the values for investment in our spreadsheet. So what happened? As we saw before, current price is a synced columns that sends values from Sheets to Notion. But investment is just a formula in Notion that, let's see the formula, is just the multiplication between the number of stocks that we have and the current price. So every time current price is updated in Notion, then investment is going to get updated as well. Then the next time Notion to Sheet runs the update, we're going to get those investment values updated in the sheet. So let's now create an additional synced column. In this case, it's going to be percentage. This is going to be super simple. It's going to be just the investment divided by the sum of all the values. Let's make this reference absolute. And now let's apply to all the stocks. Cool. Now let's go to create a synced column. Why are we doing this in Sheets and not in Notion? Doing this in Notion is extremely complicated because you need to rely on relationships and rollups just to get the total amount of investment. In this case, it's super simple. Just zoom and select the column that we want. So we're going to create one for percentage. Let's do the same as before. We're going to test the connection to make sure it's working and that the value looks like what we're expecting. Cool. So you see that we have like a lot of decimal values. So let's do some rounding. Round. And we're going to do 2 places. Well, I think we need to increase this to 4 in order to get. Yeah, perfect. Let's apply this to the rest of the of the pages. Now test connection again. Amazing. That looks much better. Let's now create the synced column. We should see the values updating in Notion, and you should get an email once the synced column finish processing. In this case, we have just 11 pages, so it's quite quick. But if you have a long database, it may take a while to update all the pages. Let's run a refresh just to make sure we have now 2 synced columns. Yes, we have the 2 synced columns. Amazing. So now if I make a change in here in Notion, let's just copy the value first. It's 0. Then this value is not going to get updated. It will still be that formula. This is why we make the connection just sheets to Notion and not 2 ways. Let's put the current value back in. So now we have 2 synced columns. Let's create one more column. In this case, it's going to be the title. We're going to make the title, as you can see here, we have the current price between parentheses, in this case just 0. I think this is going to look quite cool. So we're going to make this title dynamic. This title is going to be the symbol that we have. Then we're going to do a concatenation. We're going to do just one space. We're going to open parentheses. And then we're going to show the current price. Then we're going to add another space, parentheses. Let's add one more space in here just to make things more readable. Cool. Now we have the symbol and we have the current price. We could also, if we want, just add the dollar symbol just to make things look more nice. And then we're going to apply the same to all the pages. Perfect. Now let's go and create the column. You can see the title in here. I'm going to do something else as well. Let's see first. Let's open one of the pages. For example, the first one. Great. Let's select the assets database. Again, the column is going to be title. And let's test the connection. Boom. We have the title that is now dynamic and it's going to change once every hour with the current price of that stock. Something to have in mind, the 60-minute updates is for free accounts, but if you are in one of the paid plans, the updates are going to be every 15 minutes and you will also be able to run the updates manually if you want. Let's create the synced column so all the rest of the titles are updated. Let's close this one. Cool. It's running. Perfect. We have all the titles dynamic. There are a concatenation between the symbol and the current price. Let's now show you one of my favorite features from Notion to Sheets, that is synced cells. So synced cells allow you to connect the value of a cell in Google Sheets with a block in Notion. How does that work? So let's first go to add synced cell. Okay, so we first need a naming range. We have none right now, so let's create one. Let's go to summary. We're going to send the total value of our investment to Notion and update that total as text block. So let's write the formula first. We're going to say round and then sum. We're going to go to our assets sheet and select investment. And then we're going to use 4 places. Perfect. We now have the value. Now we're going to give it a name. So it appears here in naming range. Let's say total as text. Let's refresh. And we now have the total as text as option. Just click on it. Now we need to go to Notion and we need to copy the reference to the block. This is super easy as well. We just need to click on the 6 dots menu and copy link. Then we go back to Notion to Sheets where it says block link. We paste and we get the value, block value, total as text. So we are reading the block correctly. Let's now test the connection. The same as in synced columns. Once we click in here, we're gonna type the value of total as text with the value that we have in Google Sheets. Perfect, it's working fine. You can make changes in here if you want. You can add the dollar symbol, you can change how many decimal numbers you have. So for example, we could say we want just 2. And then we also want to add the dollar symbol at the beginning. And let's test the connection again. We can refresh first to get the value in here, and then we can go and test the connection and see how that synced cell gets updated. Let's now do the same, but with total as equation. I don't know if you are familiarized with Notion equations, but equations lets you format text in a way that is not possible with regular paragraphs and headings. Let's see an example. I will transform this text into an equation, and the first command that I will use is color. And I will set the color to green. Done. Let's, for example, change the size. I will first do this with total equation, so I can now apply the size command. Huge. We can say, for example, huge. We can say, for example, large. That lets us change the format of the text in ways that are not possible with paragraphs and heading blocks. Let's leave it as huge. Now let's do the same, but from Google Sheets. I will first create a new name range called total as equation. Total as equation, we will first start setting the color. Let's say red, so we can change. Let's say the size huge. And now it's time for the actual value. We're gonna again get the actual value doing the sum of what? Of our assets investment. Let's close that one up. Let's go back to summary. Let's finish this. Now we need to close. Perfect. Now we have the color red, the huge size, and then the value that we want. Let's see how that looks in our block. We're gonna now select, we're gonna first refresh, so we get the new naming range, total as equation. Now you see color red, huge, and then the number. Now we're gonna copy the link to this new block, the same as before, copy link. We're gonna paste in here. And now something important when we are using equations is we need to enable this slider to say is equation. Yes, we want to treat the value as an equation. Let's test the connection now. Great. So now we have the number with the color red. You can go crazy in here. You can, for example, use different colors depending on values in sheets. You can apply, for example, round the same as before in here because we are showing too many decimal places. You finish. Then again, we test the connection. We now are going to see just 4 decimal places. And again, there's so many questions, so many things that you can do with this feature. The one that I love the most is probably dashboards. So you can have dynamic dashboards in Notion that are updated automatically without you having to do anything. Last but not least, let's take a look at recurring tasks. So the purpose of recurring tasks is to enable users to schedule page creations at different frequencies. Let's see an example. The first thing that we do is select the database that we want to use, and the next one is frequency. We have 4 options: every hour, every day, every week, and every month. For every hour is super simple, so if we create a recurring task with that frequency, it's going to create a new page in Notion every hour. You have just one option for that, and it's whether you want that recurring task to run on weekends or not. Let's now take a look at every day. For every day, you have the same option as before. Maybe you want to run the recurring task only from Monday to Friday. So that way you can configure that based on the run of weekends. And the next option that we have is at which hour we want to create that page. In this case, we can select between midnight and 1 a.m. and all the rest of the options. We can't select a specific time, but we can select in between which hours we want. The next option is going to be every week. For every week, we can select which days of the week we want this to run. We can say, for example, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 9 and 10. So if we select these options, Notion to Sheets will create a page in Assets on Monday between 9 and 10, on Wednesday between 9 and 10, and on Friday between 9 and 10. And the last one is every month. So for every month, we can select the day of the month. As you can see in here, one option that it comes handy is last day of the month. So it doesn't matter if the month has 30 days, 31, 28, it's going to create a page in the last day of the month. Then once we select that, let's say on the 10th, then we can also select the hour the same way as before. So with this option, Notion to Sheets is going to create a new page in Assets on every 10th of the month between 9 and 10 a.m. What else? So the other thing that we can do with recurring task is assign default values to that page that's going to get created. In this case, we have the title. We could select a current price. We can select stocks, the type, percentage, name, and symbol. This comes handy when you, for example, have people properties where you can select users of your workspace. And if you select a specific user, when the page gets created, Notion will notify the user that they have something assigned to them. Imagine these default values the same as templates in Notion. That's all for Notion to Sheets. If you have any questions or feedback, I could love to hear back from you. Let's give Notion Sheets superpowers.